we can get started, with things today. Certainly talking to the team, we said, we lost the game, but we're certainly not lost. And there's a big difference in that. And so we missed the target defensive in this game for sure. And that's what today was about, getting to the truth of that and why. And it stings to watch, when those moments happen. But looking forward to recapturing all the unique things about our defense. Makes so much fun to coach and play in. So we'll be calling on that as we're heading into this week. So a lot to acknowledge. Got to own it. Talk about the stuff you want to hit on, and then after today, then you move past, and all the focus goes on to today. But it's okay to sit in it for a minute, be pissed about it, but then you got to process it and move forward. So that's what we'll plan on doing. So ready to open up to you guys and get rocking.
What were the most uncharacteristic elements of how you performed yesterday based on what you had seen this group do all year?
And I would think the biggest one would be the finishing of plays, and to have 14 missed tackles, obviously that's a lot of missed tackles. So if you're going to play good defense, I think you guys have heard me say that, you better be good tackling. And in this game, just too many one-person tackles for our liking, and so I would say that to me was the story of it.
If was 14 a season high?
Yes, it was.
What would have been? What's a normal week?
If you're in the single digits, that's in a normal one. But some of these ones also turned into explosive plays. And when you're really humming and really hauling ass, sometimes that can make up for a missed run fit or a missed gap because the next guy is going to come clean it up. And so I think just remembering what that relentless nature of going and finishing can feel like and look like, and you guys have certainly seen that from the defense. So we've got to capture that, and every time you go, it's got to be that way.
How do you explain the third down? Was that not getting to the quarterback? Did the pass rush get there as much as you wanted?
No, it didn't get there as much as I wanted, that's for sure. And I think, for sure, one of them early one was a run. I think I had a long explosive one, might have been the second, third down of the game. But yeah, just, combinations of ones for us to go, but we definitely didn't affect the quarterback in the way that we had hoped to. And sometimes you might see that just because there were some sacks or such, but to not affect the quarterback in the way that we liked, that was bothersome.
Is that disappointing me? Because they were playing with some backups to tackle, and they lost a tackle, and it still didn't make a difference.
That's correct. Very disappointing. But also got to play the way that we got to play, and that usually factors in quite a bit as well.
And Rich talked about you guys weren't as physical as you have been in the past. How much does that surprise you all?
Well, certainly for us, that's the thing that has to be our calling card. And so every time you go and you watch us, our family and friends watch us, to say, man, you guys really bring it. And so you got to call on that nature. It's like for all you guys who work out, like, you're going for a hard workout, you got to call upon the mindset it's going to take to go get it in. Otherwise, you go in, it's like, oh, shit, this workout's a little harder than I thought. You got to always be ready to get it on. And having that mindset, it's a challenge for sure. But that's the style of defense we play, and I'm quite certain we will recapture that.
Were the run fits there the way they had been earlier in the season and it was just missing tackles, or were you a little bit out of kilter on that?
I would say there were examples of both. There were 6 explosive runs in the game, and there was plenty of runs we fit and did great. There was a bunch of TFLs, but when you get one that's a misfit and the next guy's not hauling ass to get there, that's when the explosives come. And so that was disappointing to get to, for sure.
Didn't really seem like Trayvon's positioning or coverage was all that bad on the long touchdown. What were your coaching points or thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think when you're playing on a deep ball, and you're right, and give them credit too, they dropped a good pass down, but being on top, and if they have to be on top, so in other words, when the receiver's running down this way, I'm Trey, and we're going, that one has to either be thrown behind or out of bounds almost, when you're on top of the receiver. So just staying on top, he's in good position, but staying on top, then you can play late through the ball.
You said the last 2 weeks, Trayvon's been a little bit more aggressive than what you like.
No, I like aggressive. So I'd say that's you're talking about. I'm not sure I'm following you.
Just in general, not one particular play, but just in general.
Oh. No, I mean, honestly, that on the last one, that's not that aggressive foul that took place, or an aggressive mistake that took place on the deep ball there.
And would you say you've been playing up to your standard the last couple of weeks?
I would say the one we had in Minnesota, I think on the deep ball and the short yardage one, I think that would definitely be one he'd like to have over. But, for all of us, it doesn't come down to one thing. It's more like, hey, man, this is our style and attitude of how we play. So we're always going to play it aggressive, but that doesn't mean taking an unnecessary chance, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, but in this game, I don't feel like that was the case.
When y'all talk about knowing you want to be more physical for the game, can you talk about, or can you point to why you weren't yesterday, or sometimes that just happens?
Yeah, I wish I could. Otherwise, it would not allow that to happen. I can 100% promise you. I think just, the lesson that you always want to take from something when you have a bad performance, otherwise the pain went for nothing. So you want to make sure that you're ready to call on that type of energy, effort, toughness. And I really felt we went after it hard up in Minnesota, and you got to recapture it and go on the next day. We're going to have some other big wins, and you've got to be ready to, get it right back on the next day and the next opportunity, and we'll do that. It's a hard lesson that you go through, but usually those are the ones that are most impactful, aren't they?
And just a little earlier, when Coach McCarthy was in, he was talking about the 2.3-second principle, and that beyond that is when you make big plays. And I think that's what you were referring to when you were talking about too many one-person tackles yesterday. But could you talk about the coaching points for that at practice during the week, if it's like plastering for the defensive backs? Or?
So, what Coach is referring to on those is extended plays. And not all of them, but a lot of them happen when the quarterback gets outside the pocket. So if you were a defensive player, we'd say you're playing two separate plays. The first one happens and the quarterback's in the pocket. The second one begins when he breaks contain or gets outside, because the receivers then taught they have a certain route that they start with, and then now it gets on the move, and that's when the second play begins. So we've worked hard at that all the way back from the spring. Mike had the quarterbacks as part of the practice emphasis where we were extending plays, certainly in the passing game. Now for us in this game, there weren't a lot of extended passing game plays. For us, it was more a function of second, third, fourth, fifth guy in, to finish off on the runners. But little different, not the same thing, I guess I should say. Oftentimes a 2-3 is on a movement play of the quarterback. These particular ones for us in the run game, especially on those 6 explosives, too many one-man tackles.
What will it mean this week coaching against Atlanta for the first time?
Well, I think, one, I have great memories for there, and I always will. And I think a lot of the really cool and things that we accomplished there, and there were a lot of them, versus how it ended. And I think that's an important declaration. I'll certainly be forever grateful to Arthur to give me the opportunity there, and to all the players I had the privilege to coach. But you guys saw the performance yesterday, so there is no time to take a stroll down memory lane. Like, we got some shit to fix. So I'll be right where my feet are, right where I'm supposed to be, going after it as hard as we can, worrying about the jerseys that I coach now, and we'll throw a hell of a week.
Understanding you're not going to answer a lot more on that, but is it bittersweet? I mean, are you able to look at just because it was such a long period of time?
Yes, that's correct. Well, I'd say I did that. And then when I started here, I started fresh again. And so that's, to me, why there was some separation. I wasn't there 3 weeks ago. And so this is my team. This is who I'm with, and this is my crew. So, like I said, I always will think of the memories, but I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Some of the guys you brought back, some of the guys you brought with you from Atlanta, do you think they're saying, okay, Coach Q is not thinking about it, we're thinking about it for him?
I would say if I was in the team, you guys saw our performance yesterday, and there are no trips down memory lane, and let's just make sure we get back to the style and attitude that we love playing with, and that's honestly the most important thing.
This isn't necessarily specific to the Falcons, but it makes sense this week for you. I'm just curious, in your experience as a coach, when you have a lot of familiarity with the opponent's personnel, which I assume you would for Atlanta, do you feel like that really helps you put a game plan together?
I think it can help on really both sides, because you have some knowledge of the player. Now, what I don't know, and I haven't been all the way through their schemes yet, I can't help on that side of things. But just a speed or technique or a skill of a player, you can certainly give insight to that, almost like a scout would, because you have knowledge of that. But as far as the scheme goes, they're new on all 3 phases.
You told us when we first talked to you, I think you did this after action of that whole time. What was the best thing that someone told you that you didn't even know of or think of, or that caught you by surprise?
I would say that caught me by surprise. I don't know if it was by surprise. One of the biggest lessons was, hey, man, just keep the main thing the main thing. If you're somebody that likes to solve a lot of problems and do things, just keep everything right in front of you, of the things that you have the power to control and to affect.
Schematically, how much the numbers wise speak that you guys you've changed dramatically from what you played in Atlanta to what you're doing now. Was that part of that after action as
Yes,
well?
100%. Yep, that was a big part of it. Yeah, it was not just my Atlanta time, but I included some Seattle time in there. So there was about almost a 7-year cut-ups, that I went through to find what was good, what needed changing, and what needed tweaking. So yeah, it's quite a bit different.
And how much do Joe and George in the back end put things together with you guys during the week?
Quite a bit, yeah. And so on a staff, there's usually people that have areas of responsibility, and that's, you maybe heard me refer to Joe and to Al last week on third down. Those are some areas of emphasis. Or another person does short yards and red zone and goal line, and then bring all the information up to the table. And then it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. You put all the information up and you decide what you need and how to attack it, and go from there. But it's a fun process to go through. But it takes you for a few days to go, and they actually work ahead to get there so they can have a sense of, by the time we get into tonight and tomorrow morning, hey, this is what they do best. These are the things they do, and how can we go to attack it or play to this player and match up. So yeah, it's a fun part of it. There's a lot that goes into it.
Is that different from how you ran a defense in the past, or has that always been the play?
That's been the same, yep.
Dan, for all the time that you spent with Matt Ryan and the success you've had together, what do you most appreciate about him as a player and a person?
I would say he is a rare competitor, and I would say he's one of those people that are never out of the fight just because of his competitive nature, and then you always support somebody that always had your back. And I thought that was certainly from the quarterback and head coaching relationship an important one, and I always felt that way with Matt.
What was it about Add Dirty that you liked when you decided to add it to your staff in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think he's a remarkable teacher, Adden is, and I think that really comes first as a coach. What's our first job, is to make sure, the instruction, the information, the intent, and he has such a real way about him of communicating that. But I thought that's his superpower as a teacher. And so he's able to connect with different people on different sides of the ball. He's always digging into new ideas and new ways of looking at things. And he gave me a ton of feedback through the years. So I would say that's the thing that most impresses me about him. I'm always watching him teach and listening, and there's always things to pick up on.
Was it important to you to try to bring him here with you?
Yes, it was. And I told that to Mike, when it was here, and he understood that for sure. But yeah, it was definitely important to have guys who almost know my rhythm as well, to know, hey, this might be what Dan's thinking, and just kind of look ahead or around some corners to say, hey, this is going to come up. This is really important to him, to make sure we do it such, and such. So yeah, I think when you're first starting out somewhere, having a couple people that understand your vision, it helps.
When y'all have the string of multi-takeaway games, you say you don't believe in takeaways coming back, just keep the train rolling. Now that it's been a couple games without a takeaway, what's the key to bringing them back?
Well, I would say we had a good op for one yesterday, and we lost one, due to penalty. So for us, I think just, mainly staying into our style and our attitude to go. We had some chances for some, but we didn't capitalize on them. So I think just staying in the process of how we do that. And, certainly give, credit where credit's due for Denver and their game and the players they had. But at the end of it, like I said, for us this week, so much about us.
Do you think the Cowboys were eating the cheese too full of themselves going into the game?
Yeah, I recognize a fair question, and one I would ask if I was in your spot as well. I don't sense that was the case in this. Usually you see guys slack off or, kind of, yeah, whatever. You can almost feel, we got this, but I don't feel that way. It's an easy narrative to go to, and I get where you're coming from. I didn't feel that with this group because, honestly, we're still kind of going. And so for us, this was our first big speed bump defensively, and but I didn't go in thinking, we got them, or he ain't shit, or any of that. None of that came up.
Did you see a lack of energy, though?
I felt a lack of finishing. So I don't know if it was energy, because I thought, going into the game, I felt good. I liked where our attitude was at, but I didn't like the finishing part of plays. And second, third, fourth guy in, and to me, that's our calling card. That's where we're at. And it wasn't, one person to say, hey, why wasn't he going, or a lack of, I'm not even going to call it like a lack of effort. It's just there's got to be a bigger over-the-top emphasis for the way that we play. And as the game went on, the time of possession kept going on and on, where we just didn't get enough stops on third down and create takeaways to, get ourselves into the plus. I think those are two factors that were big in the game.
What do you think is the biggest evolution or or change in your defensive approach from what you had done before to what you're doing now? How would you kind of synthesize that and say, this is where I'm doing things?
I would say we're,
looking at-
yeah, I would say, and you have to look at it from the other side. I think that's when you have a chance to do that, it's important to look at anything from the other point of view. And so for us, I would say we're certainly more versatile now. We had relied heavily on 3-deep zone, and it had been good for us for a good long while. And so having the ability to change is an important one. I think everything is good, but nothing lasts forever in that spot, so like what was good then, now it's got to have a new tweak and a new change, and you're always kind of evolving. And so I would say the versatility of the defense now, with the variety of coverage that we play and making the quarterback have to read that after the snap, that's a big deal.
Do you think teams still go into games thinking, he's Dan Quinn, he comes from Seattle, he's played this single high defense, and this is what they've been?
I don't know. That'd be a better question for the offensive coaches. But I would say, yeah, there's an element of, certainly what I learned from, Coach Carroll that, had an impact on me that's still in part of our defense from some philosophies. But overall, scheme-wise, they would say it's broader than it's been.
When your guys are on the field for more than 40 minutes, are you thinking in the booth anything about I need to change this, I need to change that, just to preserve them?
I'm not sure I understand probably about the preserve them, like just the volume of plays.
Just to make sure, because when you talk about bench, to make sure they can play with the same amount of energy despite how much energy they've expended beyond.
Yeah, I think we talk about, okay, if it's extended long, then we would talk about rolling players more, just so you had more opportunities to go. And that's the one good part about our defense. We've had a number of players that have played a lot, so we certainly trust these guys to go in when that happens. And there'll be games where that does happen, where you don't like it to be that time of possession. Usually we're on the other ones doing that. And so in this game, the script was flipped.
What was the reaction of your players today to what you had told them about, hey, sitting in this and dealing with it and moving forward?
That's the one thing I really admire about this group. They are excellent competitors and very much connected. And so when you see something that doesn't look exactly like we like it to, there's no bullshitting yourself about it. And you say, hey, this isn't good enough for what we want to be and the standard we want to have. And please don't take that as a knock on Denver. I'm not trying to say that one bit. They played an excellent game. I'm just saying how our reaction was. And I would certainly expect that to change.
I know you said you haven't finished the Falcons game prep, but since we won't talk to you later in the week, what makes Kyle Pitts so hard to defend, and whether it's something you saw in the pre-draft process or what he's doing now?
Well, I think just for me, from watching him through the pre-draft, and I got a chance to watch him SEC last fall, so that was fine. The length and the speed. And so when you can throw away, say you had leverage on me to this side, and I can throw so far away, that gives a guy like Matt a good opportunity to know where the leverage is and put the ball far enough away that it can't get defended. And so I think when you have speed and length, that's certainly why is it, with Coop here, here's a guy who's got this great length and size. When you can throw away from somebody's leverage, you can throw it a little further away and don't have to be as tight of a throw, where somebody who's small and compact, man, that's almost 50-50. So having a guy with leverage and real length, that's a big factor.
So Dalton's discussed J-Ron being very well equipped to defend a player like that. Would you agree with that comparison?
Who did?
Dalton Schultz was saying just the way that J-Ron's got the speed and the length.
Well, I think, one, you better have enough length, because there's going to be enough what we would call 50-50 balls or ones it up. But that type of player in the NFL is a big piece of how to defend players now, because whether it's Pitts or other tight ends that we're facing around the league, it's not the traditional hand in the dirt tight end all the time anymore. So these are guys that play up at all different spots, and you have to have enough variety and different style of players to defend, because one week you may have to defend a player like him, and then another week it's at receiver or running back. And so each week there's kind of like some funkiness to go, and how do you match up? So it's one of the best parts of coaching the NFL, because you're talking about all these unique things that happen, and how do you defend them and how do you play them. And I think they've done an excellent job of moving a lot of their pieces around.
Stunts that you guys run, is that more than what you've done in the past? Stunts. Is that more than you've done in the past?
No, I would say, yeah, that's always been a big, you probably like pass rush wise? Yeah, no, not more. I would say it's probably right on par with where we're at. And I still think there's a lot of room for us to improve in that area, and certainly Law coming back makes all stunts look better, and so eventually he'll be a part of that as well. So, all right, well, you guys have a good one. All right, thank you. Yep, have a good one.
everybody.
Hey.
Hey.
Can you start by talking about the blocking the punt and again, what an unusual situation that is for the player to be in and just what your kind of guidelines and rules are there?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, for Malik to get through was a great play by Malik, just penetrating, and it's hard to block punts, even when you get there. And so he did the best job that he could, and he got it. For Nahshon, we popped him out of there, and the ball got blocked right to him. So, of course he's trying to handle it. And I said a million out of a million times, if the ball got blocked right to me, I would too. Because you really lose a sense of exactly where the line of scrimmage was. So he's trying to catch it. It came right to him and make a play. And when it hit the ground, it was spinning like a top. So when it hit the ground, it popped real awkward angle to him. And he's got great ball skills, and he just booted it. And everybody knows across the line of scrimmage, it turns into muff status, which means it's a live ball. And just crazy play in the game. I mean, I talked to Coach this morning, and I got about 200 punt blocks on tape over the last 10 years, and this is only the third time I've seen it. So very rare play. Great job by our guys, and unfortunately we just couldn't handle the deflection, and they got it back. I mean, crazy. Which is too bad because it was a huge play in the game, which I really thought would have put us back in momentum, down 2 scores into the 20-yard line, and instead it flipped it around and kind of where the ball bounced yesterday.
But the players did know the rules. They understood the rule that if it was past line of scrimmage, you touch it, it's a muscle situation.
Yeah, they knew it, but for Nahshon, he was standing like right on the line of scrimmage. Yeah, and they knew it. Trying to make a play. Looking at the coach's copy, the line of scrimmage was a 17, and Nahshon touched it right on the 18. So it's a good rule. It's been in the rule book forever, as far as I know, and it's a good rule. And I just haven't ever seen it like that close to the line of scrimmage. So tough one.
Coach, you said in Nahshon's case, it came right to him, but is that difficult for a player in that instance to fight instinct to just go get the ball if you see it? I mean, is that a difficult part of the
I would imagine so. I've never been in that position as a player, but I would imagine, if I'm a player, and you kind of lose sense of exactly where the line of scrimmage is because you probably don't really think about it, but if a ball got blocked right to me, I would imagine your instinct is just to catch it and try to go score with it. Whether he could have or couldn't have, doesn't matter now, but ball got blocked right to him, and that's what he said. He said it came right to me so fast, I tried to catch it, and kind of lost sense of exactly where I was in relation to the line of scrimmage, which I understand. He's a rookie, and 10-year vet probably answered the same way. It's just crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think about how big of a play that could have been, and instead it turned the opposite way. But damn.
You said it was just the third time you've seen it. One other one involved Coach McCarthy's team in Green Bay. What was the third one?
I believe so. Yeah, the one in Green Bay was against Baltimore.
Were you in Baltimore then?
No.
No. Okay.
No, that was, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. I was in Baltimore forever ago. And then the other one was Pittsburgh and the Chargers, I believe, in Pittsburgh. And both of those times the ball was clearly far across the line of scrimmage, so it was an obvious, live ball situation. This one was same situation, but way different because of where it was in relation to the line of scrimmage.
Paul, you said it's a good rule. Why do you think it's a good rule?
Probably just because that's the rule that it's always been, as far as I've understood it. Whether it's good or bad, I mean, that's just the way it's always been, and so we talk about it. And I think it makes sense to have a line that separates live ball from non-live ball, and that's the best line right there. So I guess it's a good rule because that's the way it's always been. And it was the right call, unfortunately. Right when I saw it happen, I saw Shawnee touch it, and then we tackled them short of the first down. So I was thinking, okay, we blocked it, we tackled them short. The ball didn't cross the line of scrimmage, so we lost a couple yards, but it's our ball. And then you're looking at it, I didn't realize that it actually had deflected that far. Because from my sideline perspective, I thought it was maybe 5 to 10 yards of a deflection, and we touched it, which is okay if it's behind the line of scrimmage, as long as we tackle them because they can advance. So a lot went through my head immediately, and I went to the ref and I said, didn't cross the line. But that was just hope, And that's what I thought, but it was also hope. Knowing that it's probably going to review and whatever I say doesn't matter anyways.
You mentioned the momentum that it could have brought if the punt has been successfully blocked and recovered, and then how it ended up affecting momentum. How much do you view your job and your special teams guys' job as helping bring those momentum plays when needed.
Yeah, we talked about that this morning in our special teams meeting, that, we have opportunities like that, especially in games that are kind of just, it's our job to not manufacture a play, but if we have an opportunity presented, to capitalize. And we did, and it, got away from us in a very weird way. So that's kind of our goal is, we don't have a lot of reps during the game compared to offense and defense that are in the 60, 70 play range. Ours was about a 14 live ball play rep day yesterday, and we came close to capitalizing. And our job is to flip momentum. And I tell the guys I'm proud of them for, with the limited opportunities, not pressing, not forcing plays. Like Tony Pollard, he wants to return all the kicks, but sometimes you got to just take the touch back until you get the right kick. So don't get frustrated, because frustrated players and coaches make bad decisions. And so we talk a lot about that. Competing and trying to make big plays, but not force them and manufacture them and get impatient when they don't come.
What worked well on that opening kickoff return?
First of all, Tony's a really good runner. And then second of all, I think our guys blocked it really good. It wasn't a magical, schematical, presentation or put together. It required a couple good double teams and a couple good singles and a runner to have good vision. And it wasn't really that complicated. I just think they executed it really good. We got a ball that was kicked in a pretty good spot for us to return. And we practiced it pretty hard all week, all the possibilities that could happen. And it was blocked really good. And Tony, broke 2 tackles. They were really, really good tackle breaking that we watched this morning. So hopefully, we get a little momentum on the kick return game, which is kind of reminiscent of last year. The first 8 games, it was kind of like, then we hit one against Washington pretty good, and then another one came, and we just said, hopefully, you see one like a jump shooter. You see one go in, a runner sees the crease, then hopefully it starts coming a little more often.
Let's think of the onside kick there. Did he get it where he needed to in terms of his approach, or?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more gas on the kick. And we had a couple other options we could have gone to based on how the game was going. We thought we'd go with what we had already shown on tape. And there's ways we can actually make that better. And sometimes it's good for me to see it, to see how a team might attack it, so how we can defense it or attack it better. We had a couple other options we just didn't want to go to at that point in the game.
The previous week, Kelvin Joseph worked in for the first time, and then Francis Bernard yesterday. How did he do in his first time?
Yeah, I'm really proud of Kelvin Joseph. If I ever accidentally say Fat is Kelvin Joseph. This is his other name. Boss man Fat. So Fat, Kelvin Joseph. For the second week, he's for somebody that hadn't played special teams and probably got drafted without the intent of, hey, you're going to be on the front line of kickoff return, you're going to play gunner, and you're going to be a 5 on kickoff. Not coming in probably anticipating that was going to be his role. I'm really proud of him. Really proud of Kelvin for taking on that role with a lot of pride, and in 2 weeks shows that he can be a big factor for us on special teams. And then it was great to have Francis back. Unfortunately, because of Jabril's injury, Francis got a shot. But I think Francis might have got a shot even if Jabril wasn't hurt. But it was great to have Francis back on the field too. He played meaningful reps for us last year and brings a nice big body kind of physical presence. And so he was felt yesterday, and he performed for the first game back pretty darn good. He said the only thing that kind of hurt him was his neck a little bit, just because when you're not banging and colliding and playing preseason games, his body felt good, but just some of the collisions, my neck's a little bit sore, but normal stuff.
You mentioned that you've seen it 3 times in 200 attempts in the last 10 years. So how do you go about looking for that? And what's the process?
It's just rules that we cover. And this might have been something we might have shown in OTAs or training camp. Hey, if the ball crosses the line of scrimmage, same thing on field goals. Poison call, get away from it. When it's obvious and clear, if it doesn't cross the line of scrimmage, let's try to scoop and score it. If we boot it or muff it, it's still our ball. They can't, so we talk about that, but it's not like something, honestly, that I talk about every week or every even month. It's just something you cover early in the season. It's a super rarity, so where are we going to spend our time talking about the stuff that happens a lot? So I can't remember when we covered it last, but it's a known rule, and it's just, golly, to have it happen in that time of the game right on that line is, I'm sure a lot of other teams are looking at it and coaching their guys up on it. But other players are saying, well, coach, what if I don't know where I'm at? The ball is like right on the line. The answer is probably attack the football, try to handle it, get as many yards as you can, and then just don't lose possession if you cover it. I'd imagine that's what we told our guys.
Well, sorry, less about what you were telling them, but the 200, that's 200 successfully blocked punts in the last 10 years, or?
Yeah, I mean, we have a tape of all the blocked punts in the last 10 years, and it's around 200, yeah. So looking at all those, most of them get blocked and get scooped and scored, or dead balls behind the line of scrimmage, or, yeah, it's a rarity.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, you guys.
performance was unlike anything else you had had this season? Just why were you so out of sync with so much of it? You didn't have the ball for much in the second and third quarter. Just how do you look at that?
They played really well on defense. We didn't play our best game on offense. Obviously, didn't have a ton of snaps, certainly within the confines of probably the first 3 quarters of that game. And we just missed some opportunities. Obviously, we missed some opportunities in there that gave us a chance to potentially make that a different type of game, and they took advantage of most of those opportunities.
Dak, is that a little bit of rust? Because like he was a little long on some throws, especially CD.
I don't know if it's rust. We just weren't able to find the rhythm that I think we're accustomed to playing with. Converting on third downs, converting on fourth downs, making long drives out of these things, ultimately getting points, and it was just choppy, and we didn't execute as well as we hoped for.
Dak said he felt like it was the first game of the season that y'all weren't the more physical team on the field. Do you agree with that, and why do you think that was so?
I think it's fair to say. Obviously, you want to run the football better, and certainly early in those situations, some short yardage situations, I own those. I feel like didn't give ourselves the best opportunity in those third and fourth downs. I think we were 2 for 7, and third or fourth down and 2 or less. It's not good, and so obviously those are situations. We'll find a way to make those a lot better.
Typically, even in losses over recent years, Dak's games have looked cleaner than that. Just coming off a game where you struggled like that, what's the film session like with him and his response to it?
I think the film session is trying to eat up as much of it as you can. And Coach said we're not going to throw the tape away. I know some people use that metaphor. We want to dig every little piece of this thing because obviously it's a copycat league. Everyone's going to copy that formula, and so you better have an answer for every single thing that came up in that game, and because you're bound to see it in the coming weeks.
Do you ever get a sense he was trying to throw the 10-point touchdown a little bit, that he was pressing?
I think that's fair to say just for all of us, not necessarily Dak. I think, play calling starts with the play calling aspect of this thing. I think we love to be aggressive on our side of the football, and those guys were aggressive in Denver. I thought their defense played a phenomenal game. They played really well against us, and we didn't take advantage of some opportunities.
What's the reaction that you got from the guys today in your meetings with them as you look forward to another kind of uncommon opponent?
I think guys really dug into it, took the time to process what happened, and I think our guys are ready to take our step forward and move this thing in the right direction, the direction we know we're capable of doing. But it'll be another uncommon opponent, someone that with different defense structure. Dan was there for so long, and so there'll be a lot of work to go into this game, getting ready for Atlanta.
How did Terrence handle the move to left tackle, and what does that mean for y'all in the next couple weeks?
Yeah, I thought he did some nice things. It's never a favorable matchup when you're sitting there throwing the ball in a game where everyone knows you're throwing the football. So those are challenging situations for both tackles. I don't care who you're facing. So he did some nice things. Obviously, we'll continue to progress this thing, see where Tyron's at, and then assess the tackle situation. Obviously, as the week progresses.
Late in the game, there you're down by 30, and Dak and a lot of your key guys come back out for those final 2 possessions. Can you talk about what you're weighing their risk reward of the team is as far as sending them back in a situation where they're not going to win? And can you carry something out of that game going forward?
I definitely think there's something to carry out of that. Our guys didn't quit. They kept playing. We didn't have a ton of snaps in that particular game, and so I thought it was an opportunity for us to continue to fight, continue to battle. Our guys put together a couple drives there. Obviously, ultimately don't win that game, but hopefully it carries through. Working the 2-minute scenario and all those sorts of things, but hopefully it carries through with some momentum that, we found a little groove. Ultimately, did it affect this game? Probably not a whole lot, obviously, but I think hopefully it carries through as we move forward.
What is Dak like after a game like this, and how he comes in and, does he look at everything, or does he how does he process it, I guess?
Dak goes through the process the same way each and every week, and you watch the whole game. He's going to watch it on his own. We're going to come together, watch it as a group, talk about the positives, the things that we can improve on. I think the hope is that there's consistency within each and every week, and that you're not drastically changing the formula just because we lost the game. There's opportunities to grow in this game, certainly. Maybe there's a few more than we'd like, based on the outcome of that game. But we're going to go through this process each and every week.
You kind of touched on it a minute ago with pressing, but as a play caller, in a game like this where even when the things you call seem like they're going to work, I'm thinking about the Mari drop or the 4th and 2 to Cedric, is it hard to fight off frustration when even things that are called correctly don't work out for whatever reason?
Frustration is natural for everyone. We always talk about trying to find that neutral. There's going to be positive, there's going to be negatives. We got to try and find that neutral. It's challenging for everyone. It's challenging for players, coaches, fans, media. Everyone's got to deal with those things. And so it's not the most fun aspect of this thing, but it's something that hopefully we grow from, we learn from, to be able to handle those situations again, because there'll be bumps along the way again. There'll be plenty of, we'll get this thing steered in the right direction. We'll have a bunch of positives. There'll be some dips in a game, and we just got to be able to handle them.
Try not to overanalyze it and just try to keep what happened yesterday in a proper perspective, in a sense.
I think it's a challenge for everyone, obviously, but I think it's a great opportunity just to try and stay consistent, as consistent as you can, to go through the process the same way, watch it the same way, evaluate it the same way, identify what they did against us really, really well, and because again, it's a copycat league. We're going to see those things from, in Atlanta, Kansas City, Vegas, all the teams coming up. That's going to be the film they watch right there. And so we better have a plan for all the different things that came up in that game.
We've talked to you before, so much has been clicking and going this year, and this game wasn't like that. From your perspective as a play caller, how does that work for your head? Or do you have more, does it slow you down a little bit because you're thinking, well, this didn't work, I got to do this, versus when you're in the zone, for lack of a better phrase, where you're just calling it and going and blowing?
It's a great question. I think naturally when positive gains add on top of each other, it's a nice flow to calling a game. Obviously, when you end up in 2nd and 10 and 3rd and longs in those situations, passing situations, those are challenging situations for everyone. And obviously, you have a formula kind of going into a game, and obviously you have to adjust. And we just weren't able to find our groove in that one.
What goes into the decisions on those early 4th down attempts, and how different is your play calling goals when you've got 4th and 2 versus 3rd and 2, given with that type of field position?
Yeah, based off the situation, usually Mike's giving us hey, you got 2 downs here, and you can play 3rd down like 2nd down and give us those opportunities. Again, those 4th downs, I love that we're going for them. I'm digging on them, second guess myself like no other every time they don't work. And so you go through that process trying to see if you can find something better in those situations. I thought they did a really, really good job. They did a great job in those situations.
You had the 2-point plays there at the end. There's only so many of those that teams have. Do you kind of hold back on some of that, or are you a little leery of what you're showing?
I think we won. I think we ultimately want to end with good football. I think that was the most important because again, it's the momentum that you can carry from those situations. We were able to finish 2 for 2 in the red zone, 2-point plays, situations we haven't played as well in over the course of the last few weeks. So take that for whatever it's worth from our standpoint. But I think we got enough down there that we can work with, and we'll continue to evolve.
So Dak last week has the calf, doesn't play, comes back this week. Are you thinking that has a really good, to call it, quarterback run here on this one? Is it in that late of a game?
Yeah, there's some variations within that play. So he had some options, and ultimately he ended up keeping it, and we're comfortable.
But ultimately, you didn't call plays concerned about his calf.
No, the calf wasn't part of the discussion this week. It's part of last week's discussion. This week we felt good, so.
There's been a lot of discussion on our end about the risk-reward of playing Dak in the final 5 minutes of a game like that. Not asking you about that decision, but in your experience as a quarterback, with as much football as Dak has played, how valuable are those drives to get back into some kind of groove?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, again, for our group to keep working together, spend time together, 2-minute drives like that. You're going to carry something out of that. And, I think the nice thing is, he had an opportunity to grow through that process. A couple of our guys made some plays, Malik, Schultz, some nice plays in there. And so we're going to take that as a growth opportunity there that we took advantage of.
Is that more about culture there than actually efficiency? If you know what I mean? Is it more just being out there and being together and we're going to work through this till the end? Is that more the message and what you want there than?
I think you can see it from both angles, yeah. that we're going to keep fighting, we're going to keep battling. I think our guys did that, and I respect the heck out of them, because in a situation like that, you can pack it in, let the clock bleed out, and let's get out of here. Our guys fought, battled, did everything they could to put us in a couple scoring situations, and obviously, again, from the schematical side of this, or the football side of this, hopefully we're able to gain some momentum out of that.
There's some college jobs that have opened up, and your name has always surfaced. Have you or your agent had any discussions with any colleges about openings?
No, not one bit.
How do you handle that? When your name comes up, do you just tell your guy to say, hey, just we'll worry about this whenever the season ends?
Yeah, I don't worry about any of that stuff. So that's it's Dave Dunn's job. He does a great job with it.
So you've instructed Dave, when your season ends, that's when you look at either a college job or a pro job. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he takes care of all that stuff. He's got it.
Yesterday, Dak seemed a little bit surprised by the question about playing late in a blowout, like it didn't even occur to him not to play. Does that surprise you about him? Is that part of the makeup that is sort of what you want him to be in the bigger picture?
Yeah, I think Dak wants to play every snap he gets an opportunity to play in. Training camp, he doesn't want to take a snap off. OTAs, he wants to be there every single day. That's who he is. He doesn't want to take a rep off in a Wednesday practice. That's just who he is, and he wants to get as many opportunities as possible. I'm not surprised.
What can Michael Gallup's return mean to the offense?
Would be really, really excited to get Michael. Obviously, huge aspirations for him as the season went on. He dealt with the injury as it went, and so we're excited to have him back. He's going to do some awesome things for us. We're excited. He'll bring some juice, bring some energy. He's going to go make some plays when he gets the opportunity, and add to that room, make that room even more competitive, because we've got a lot of talent in that room that are excited. If they get an opportunity, they're going to go take advantage of it.
Has he been frustrated at all, just been missing so much time?
I think it's frustrating for everyone, but every player, you always want an opportunity to play, and I think Michael's just at that point now, obviously, where he's getting closer and closer and ready to roll, and he's going to be really excited.
You said there were a lot of factors yesterday, but was that one of the most you've ever seen Dak be inaccurate on as many throws as he's had, because he has such a high level of accuracy?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of factors within that game. I want to pinpoint it all on that. Did he miss some throws? Yeah. Did we miss some? Did I call some plays that I wish I didn't call? Yeah. I think all of us got a little piece of it we all get to take. But again, that game's part of this process, and hopefully it's a huge growth opportunity for us, and we can grow from it.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you.